The night Ngozi lost her husband, she thought the worst thing that could happen had already happened. She was wrong, because the real nightmare started 3 days later. The morning his family arrived, they didn't come to comfort her. They came to take everything.
You brought this on us, your choices. The family cannot bear this shame. You must leave now. Do not return.
Her husband's house, his belongings, even the bed she slept on. And before sunset, that same day, Ngozi would hear words she never imagined. You no longer belong here.
You bring shame to this family.
You dishonor your husband's memory.
You are no longer welcome here.
Tonight on True Crime with Donbruno, we uncover the hidden stories of widows who became single mothers overnight. Not only because their husbands died, but because their families were rejected by the very people who were supposed to protect them. And what happened next in Ngozi's life would shock everyone who knew her. Ngozi woke up before sunrise. The house felt unusually quiet. Her husband, Chinedu, had been sick for weeks, but she still believed he would recover until that morning when the phone rang and the hospital said the words she would never forget.
It's me. Something's happened.
What is it?
It's bad. I need you to come now.
Okay, I'm coming. Just hold on.
Please come immediately. By the time she arrived, Chinedu was already gone, 32 years old, a husband, a father, and suddenly,
Madam, I'm so sorry.
a memory.
Your husband didn't make it.
No, please.
We're very sorry for your loss.
But Ngozi had no idea that losing her husband was only the first chapter of a much darker story, because the real battle would begin when his family arrived. 3 days after the burial, 2 cars stopped outside Ngozi's house. Inside were Chinedu's brothers, his uncle, and his mother.
We need to talk.
It's important. We are here for you.
What is it?
Inside.
At first, Ngozi thought they came to support her, to comfort the children, but the way they looked at her told a different story. No one hugged her. No one asked if she was okay. Instead, the first question they asked was chilling.
By right. Tradition says it goes to the eldest. She needs time. We must decide.
Where are the documents? Ngozi didn't understand. What documents? The uncle spoke again. The house papers. And in that moment, she realized something was very wrong.
Blaming her won't solve anything. She knew the risks. We all warned her.
Please, enough. This fighting helps no one.
Within minutes, the conversation turned hostile. One brother suddenly stood up. You think you can take our brother's property? Ngozi froze. Take his property? This was the house she and Chinedu built together. The home where their children were born. But to them, she was no longer a wife. She was now an outsider, and what the uncle said next would break her completely. In our tradition, the house belongs to the family, not the widow. The argument lasted hours. Voices rose, accusations filled the room. Then suddenly, the decision was made. Ngozi had 1 week to leave. 1 week to pack everything, to find somewhere else to live, to explain to her children why they were leaving the only home they had ever known. But what Ngozi discovered later that night would make the situation even worse.
What are you doing with his things?
We are packing them, madam.
You have no rights. This is too soon.
The family elder said to do it.
Get out.
Because someone had already begun moving Chinedu's belongings out of the house.
For safekeeping. No, please, I can't bear to see them go.
We understand. We are almost finished. Please, must you take everything? It is necessary. We are sorry.
This was our home.
Mama, when is Papa?
The children that night, her son asked a question she wasn't ready to answer.
He's gone forever.
Mom, are we moving? Ngozi forced a smile, maybe for a little while. But deep inside, she knew the truth. She had no savings, no job, no family nearby, and now, no home. But what happened the next morning would change everything,
Yes?
because someone unexpected
Morning.
knocked on her
May I
door.
come in?
Of course, please. I heard about your husband. I'm so sorry. Thank you.
Standing outside was a woman Ngozi had never seen before. She introduced herself quietly.
To worry you, but it's getting...
"My name is Ada."
What is it? Tell me.
Then she said something that made Ngozi's heart race.
Oh no.
"I heard what happened to your husband."
Quiet. We'll get through it.
Ngozi nodded slowly, but Ada's next words were shocking. "It happened to me too." Ada was also a widow, and her story was even darker. Ada's husband died 5 years earlier, just like Ngozi's, and within days, his family forced her out of the house. But that wasn't the worst part, because before she left, they accused her of something terrifying.
You cannot refuse.
They believed she caused his death,
What's right?
and what they forced her to do next was something Ada still struggles to talk about today. In some communities, widows are forced to perform rituals. Ada was told to drink water used to wash her husband's body. To prove she had nothing to do with his death, she refused, and that refusal cost her everything. She lost her home, her land, even her husband's business. But what she built afterward is why she was standing at Ngozi's door that morning.
Together, we
Ada
are
now
strong.
ran a small organization, helping widows who had nowhere else to go. She looked at Ngozi and said something powerful. "You're not alone." And for the first time since Chinedu died, Ngozi felt a small spark of hope. But the battle with Chinedu's family wasn't over. In fact, it was just beginning. 2 weeks later, Ngozi filed a case in court. Her husband's brothers were furious. They believed she had disrespected the family, but Ngozi had reached a point where she had nothing left to lose. She was fighting for her children, and what the judge would say during the first hearing left the courtroom completely silent. The judge asked one simple question: "Is there evidence that the widow has no right to the house?" No one answered, because legally, the house belonged to Ngozi and her children. But even after that ruling, the hostility didn't stop, because losing the house meant the family lost something else: control. Months passed. Ngozi slowly rebuilt her life. She found work. Her children returned to school. But the emotional scars remained, because the people who once called her family had become strangers, and sometimes, worse, enemies. Ngozi's story is not unique. Across many communities, widows face the same reality. A husband dies, and suddenly the woman he loved becomes unwanted. Some lose their homes, some lose their children, and some disappear completely from the lives they once knew.
You're doing so well. The food smells wonderful. Thank you. It gives me hope.
But for Ngozi, something unexpected happened. With Ada's help, she started a small business, selling food from home. What began as survival slowly turned into something bigger: independence. Years later, Ngozi's children would grow up remembering something very different. Not the day their father died, but the day their mother refused to give up. And that decision changed their future. Just when Ngozi believed the worst was over, something strange began happening. People in the neighborhood started looking at her differently. Whispers followed her at the market. Some conversations suddenly stopped when she walked past. At first, she ignored it. But one afternoon, a woman finally told her the truth. Chinedu's family had started telling people something disturbing. They were claiming Ngozi had something to do with his death. and the rumor was spreading faster than she imagined. But what she would discover about who started the story would shock her. One evening, while cleaning an old drawer, Ngozi found something unexpected. A small brown envelope. Inside were documents she had never seen before. Her husband had quietly registered something months earlier. A life insurance policy. And Ngozi was the sole beneficiary. Suddenly, the hostility from his family started making sense. But when his brothers discovered that policy existed, their reaction became far more aggressive.
Explain yourself now. You lied to us. I had to. No more secrets.
Because now, they believed Ngozi had something they wanted. Money. The confrontation happened outside the house. Chinedu's older brother arrived unannounced. His voice was loud enough for the entire street to hear. "You think we don't know what you're hiding?" Neighbors began watching from their windows. Ngozi stood quietly. But this time, she didn't step back. She simply said something that changed the entire moment. "If Chinedu were alive, he would be ashamed of what you're doing." For a brief second, the brother said nothing, and that silence revealed something unexpected. Guilt. Years passed. Ngozi's children grew older. Her son once asked a question she had feared for years.
I know it's been hard.
"Mom,
You can always talk
why doesn't Daddy's family visit us?"
We'll get through
Ngozi
it
paused. "Because how do you explain betrayal to a child?" But she answered honestly. "Sometimes people forget what family means." Her son nodded quietly, then said something she never expected. "When I grow up, I will never forget." And in that moment, Ngozi realized something powerful. Her struggle had changed more than her life. It had changed the future of her children. Somewhere tonight, a widow is sitting in silence. The house is quieter than it has ever been. The children are asleep, and the future feels uncertain. But somewhere else, another family is already discussing inheritance, property, ownership. Because when a husband dies, the widow often faces something even harder than grief: isolation. And until societies begin protecting widows, these stories will continue. Different women, different cities, the same painful beginning. The questions. No one answers, but there is a question many widows quietly ask themselves. A question few people ever answer. What happens to a woman's place in a family the moment the man who connected her to that family is gone? For years, she was called wife, daughter-in-law, family. Then suddenly, she becomes something else. An outsider, someone who must now defend her right to remain in the very house she helped build. And in many cases, the battle begins before the mourning even ends. But what makes this situation even more painful is that the children are always watching. The children who see everything. Children notice more than adults realize. They hear the arguments. They see the tension. They understand when their mother is suddenly treated differently. And those moments leave marks that last for years. Some children grow up remembering the day their father died, but others remember something else. The day their mother was pushed out. The day their home stopped feeling safe. And sometimes, those memories shape the way they see family forever. But not every widow's story ends in loss. Some stories take a very different turn. The women who refuse to break across many communities. There are women who refuse to disappear. Women who refuse to accept silence. Women who rebuild their lives piece by piece. Some start small businesses. Some return to school. Some dedicate their lives to protecting other widows from the same fate. Because once a woman survives that kind of rejection, something inside her changes. The fear slowly fades, and something stronger replaces it. Determination. But even with that strength, one truth remains. A story that repeats this story has been told many times. Different families, different cities, different names, but the pattern rarely changes. A man dies, grief fills the house. Then quietly, another conversation begins. Who owns the land? Who owns the house? Who controls the future? And somewhere in that conversation, the widow's voice is often the weakest, unless she decides to make it stronger. Because somewhere tonight, another woman is sitting in the same silence, listening to the same whispers, facing the same uncertainty. She may not know it yet, but her story is just beginning. And whether that story becomes one of loss or one of survival depends on choices that will be made in the coming days by families,
This is your fault. You brought this on us. Stop shouting. Blaming her won't solve anything.
by communities,
Evidence presented by both sides. I will now deliver my ruling. All parties must remain silent.
and sometimes by the widow herself. If stories like this matter to you, if you believe hidden realities deserve to be told, then welcome to Donbruno Crime Files. Here we uncover the stories society often ignores. Real lives, real mysteries, real consequences, and sometimes the truth is darker than anyone expected. Subscribe and join the investigation, because the next story may be even more disturbing.